Hello, welcome back to another video. As you can see, today we have a slightly different background, and that is because I am currently doing some changes in my office and it's a huge mess and I can't film in there. So we're filming here in front of my bookshelves. The reason I don't film here all the time is because it's not a very comfortable spot for me. I have to stand and I don't like standing. So today's video is going to be actually really perfectly themed for the background, and it's going to be a monthly book roundup. So I'm going to tell you about the books that I read in October, and also the things that I watched and played and entertainment that I consumed, I guess. The first book that I read in October, or that I finished reading in October, was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Obviously, this was a reread. I read Harry Potter like constantly. I don't know what I can say about it. I love it. I enjoy it. I have fun. It was great. Then I read Perfectly Preventable Deaths by Deidre Sullivan. And first of all, we have to talk about this cover because it's so pretty. That's kind of what got me. And then I read the blurb and I was like, okay, this is very atmospheric. It was very good for an autumn Halloween kind of read. There's like magic, there's plotting, and like a cursed town. It was pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of The Wicked Deep because of the whole like sisters thing, the kind of magic that is used and stuff. I feel like it reminded me of The Wicked Deep, and also the kind of vibes and the way that is written and the like writing style and the way that it's very atmospheric. I don't know. I just felt like I was reading something very similar to The Wicked Deep. And the story is not similar, it's just like the kind of same kind of vibe. If you enjoyed The Wicked Deep, you probably would enjoy Perfectly Preventable Deaths. What happens is there's these two sisters, Madeline and Maddie and Caitlin, and they are twins, and they moved somewhere else to live in the castle of their mom's new husband. And they basically lost their dad in an accident, kind of fire incident, when they were little, constantly have memories about him and stuff, and there's a lot of things that they don't understand about his death. When they get to this town, they know that a lot of girls have gone missing over the years. Sometimes they find remnants of their bodies and stuff, and they look like they've been tortured to some extent. To a big extent. I don't know why I'm smiling when I say that. Everything is from the point of view of Madeline. She's basically the like introverted twin who's very insecure, feels like she can't do anything without her sister kind of thing, which I feel like was kind of annoying at the beginning, but also kind of important to the story and to like the steps that she takes afterwards, that how hard it is for her to do those things because of how introverted and sensitive she is. I feel like that's kind of important. But also at times I was kind of like, girl, just believe in yourself a little bit. Like, being an introvert is not a bad thing. Just do your thing. They're supposed to be 16. I didn't have it all figured out when I was 16, so it's fine. Stuff happens and her sister is in danger and she doesn't know how to deal with it. She doesn't know how to keep her sister safe without alienating her. And then there's this part of her, which I guess is like kind of witchy, and she doesn't also understand that very well, and the person that she finds that can kind of explain that to her is not the most communicative, easy person to talk to. I enjoyed it. From the get-go, I was invested and I wanted to know what happened. It did take me a while to read this, not because of the book itself, it's just because I was in a reading slump. So I was having a hard, like I wasn't feeling like reading. I genuinely did want to know what happened in this book and I was invested. So I enjoyed it. However, I will have to say that one of my problems with this book is that the magic system is not explained very well. And we have a lot of hints, especially towards the end, that there are, spoiler alert, some other kinds of magic in the town, and that there are like other people who have powers, I guess you could say, and we don't know what they are and we don't understand what they are, and nobody like gives us an explanation. So I feel like a lot of the magic system, there were a lot of things that were hinted at that then don't get talked about, and I don't like that. It felt a little bit like maybe there's going to be a sequel, and I would like to read a sequel because I want to know more about the magic system. I want to know more about how all of that works. I want to know about her father's history and like what happened to him and the person who was putting everybody in danger. Who were they? It's just kind of, it's very elusive. Like it says they were some kind of powerful being that isn't, you know, from this world or whatever, but it doesn't explain what it is. Like, what is it? Where does it come from? Who is he? Tell me. There was just stuff missing. I would have enjoyed it so much more if the magic system was more thoroughly explained and if things were just better explained. But also, I just wanted more. I swear my mom always calls me when I'm filming. Next, I read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I know I read a lot of Harry Potter. It's my like comfy self-care, like go-to read whenever something's wrong, whenever I'm feeling like I need to be, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like my, it's like comfort food, but my comfort read. Like I love reading this. Next, I read this graphic novel, which is called Alice in the Real World or something like that. Sadly, they don't have this book in an English translation yet. I think there's French, I think there's Portuguese, Italian, German, but originally it's Spanish. There was a lot of things in here that I really connected with and that I really felt like spoke to my experience as a chronically ill person, somebody with health challenges, somebody who goes to a lot of doctors and their health is hard to explain to other people. So I got this from the library. It's a graphic novel. This book is about Alice here who has cancer, breast cancer, and it's basically from the point of her diagnosis to like her getting over like her treatments and her life afterwards and getting back to her life after cancer. It's not so much about the like diagnosis and the like actual having cancer part. It's more about, I feel like it's more about the experiences that you have whilst you have cancer and like your interactions with other people, and a lot about how people expect you to like get back on your feet and be done with your chemo and get back to life, and it doesn't work like that. Your body takes a long time to heal, and cancer isn't necessarily a chronic illness because you can obviously cure it and you can treat it, whereas like illnesses like mine, you can treat it mildly successfully, but you always have symptoms the rest of your life and it never goes away, and cancer can go away. So it's not chronic in that sense, but it is something that really shakes your life and that really takes you down for a prolonged time. I feel like a lot of us will have similar experiences, even if it's not with cancer, it's with other things. Like there were parts where when she's talking to her friends about like her friends' expectations of how she's supposed to be getting better, and she just doesn't feel ready yet. And I feel like I really resonated with that. In this book, there is a lot of like medical encounters and just her feeling really tired. And there's just a lot of stuff that I feel like we could all relate to. And it's talked about in a very lighthearted way. And I feel like that's really good because you can find representation and stuff that you relate to without being like really heavy and really like dark. And it's just like nice. And I just felt really like somebody got me. Like I just felt like I was understood when I was reading this, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I really recommend, if you can find it in a language that you understand, that you can read it in. I don't know. Maybe we can hope for a translation to English. Next, I read Hold Back the Stars by Katie Kahn. This is obviously the Portuguese version I got from the library. This book honestly had me like upset at the end. Like I was upset because I did not know how to feel about this book. It's basically a romance. It's kind of like that line between a YA and adult, where it's kind of it's more like adult, but it still has like YA-ish like writing style and stuff. We have Karis, I don't know if like how her name is pronounced, and Max, who are a couple and who basically we find them in space, and they have 90 minutes of oxygen left to live, and they have to get back to their station, but they are having a really hard time doing that. It gets harder and harder for them to reach the station, and we can kind of see that either both of them are going to die or one of them is going to, and we don't know who and we don't know what. And basically this whole story is them in space counting back how much time they have left of air, and them kind of talking about their lives and going flashbacks into both of their perspectives, into like what happened, how they met and their relationship, and how they got to where they are, basically. It's also kind of an utopian scenario where there's no more United States, there's no more like Europe in the way that we know it. It's all kind of like one place, and there's no like borders and things like that. It's kind of like after a nuclear war, and in the future, and it's this utopia that, I don't know, it's just kind of it's hard to explain because I didn't really go that much into depth about it, and I didn't really understand all of it. So that's just kind of the gist of it. Wasn't really that into it at the beginning. I was kind of like, okay, we'll see where this goes. But I got into it, and I read it in like 2 days. I enjoyed it a lot. I really, really did. But I feel like also It's kind of the same thing with Perfectly Preventable Deaths. Like, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the romance, and I enjoyed like the plot, and I enjoyed it, but I wanted to know more about how it worked, how the system worked, and I didn't understand that well. Like, I understood, but like, I feel like I wish there was more. I always want more backstory. I want to know all the logistics and stuff, and that's just kind of like my brain, and I know that not everyone is like me. Then I listened to Daughter of the Pirate King on Scribd, and I realized I haven't been listening to audiobooks lately, and that's probably why I haven't been reading as much, because I do listen to like 1 or 2 audiobooks a month. I didn't find that much time to listen to other ones just because I was in the mood for Christmas music. Yeah, essentially this is about a girl who is the daughter of the Pirate King. She basically stages a kidnapping scenario where she's the one being kidnapped. She's being kidnapped by like rival pirates in order to retrieve this like item that her dad really wants her to retrieve, and that will lead them to a big treasure. We find out some stuff about her past and some stuff about who she is and her powers and stuff. There's kind of like a love-hate, mostly a hate relationship with one of their captors, and it sounds really like messed up when you say it like that. So there's that, and then there's like her whole relationship with her dad, which doesn't seem all that healthy either. There's definitely problems with this book, especially if you start looking into like diversity, maybe falling in love with one of her captors, and like there's definitely problems here. But honestly, some of the things that people pointed out online, I didn't pick up on. Maybe because I'm a privileged white lady. That's a possibility. I don't know about that. Like, I honestly don't know what to say about that topic. I do feel like there are some things that definitely are possibly problematic. I understand that that's not the healthiest relationship, and I don't want that for myself, but I can still enjoy the plot and I can still enjoy the book. Sometimes a problematic thing in a book isn't a deal breaker for me. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I stop reading a book for less. I enjoyed the book, but I will say like there were things that I was like, okay, fine. I understand that people don't want to support certain artists or certain writers who have made mistakes that they don't agree with, but I also think that if you don't talk about those mistakes and you don't give people a chance to improve, then they're not going to. So, I don't know. That's just my take on that. Nobody cares, so let's move on. Next, I read Sailor Moon Volume 3. I love this series so much. This is like my Harry Potter, but like the girly super power Japanese version of it, I guess. It's so cute. Like, I just also really problematic if you really dig into it, but so nostalgic. Like, I grew up watching this show, and it's just like it just gives my heart, like, it just makes me happy. So I enjoy it. I don't care. There we go. So Sailor Moon Volume 3. This one is about like stuff is happening. I don't know how to say it. Like, if you're not into this, I don't know. Is there spoilers for this? I don't know. I've noticed a trend. There's one book that is like super action-packed and there's a lot of stuff happening and you're like, what is happening? To the point where sometimes I'm like, I don't understand the last scene. We can't move on yet. Like, I need to understand what just happened. And then there's another book, normally the one that comes after is less action-packed, although they're all still very action-packed, but a little bit less, and they'll be more like them finding answers to answer the questions of what happened, right? So yeah, if you start reading the series, bear in mind that the first book is a little bit confusing, but then you understand a lot of stuff in like as you get going. So I found that this book was a little bit confusing and there was just a lot happening and I was like, what the hell is happening? But it didn't make me like not want to read. It just made me like want to keep going because I wanted to know what happens and like what is going on. Who are these people? Why did they want to hurt Sailor Moon? Sailor Venus, I think, is really similar to Sailor Moon. So I get confused a little bit sometimes. Anyway, that's why I wish it was in color, because I feel like they have different colors. And if it was in color, I would just find it easier to understand. But that might not be a problem of the manga. That might be a problem of my disabled brain. So we don't know. I digress. I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun reading it, and it just also makes me really happy. It's a really quick read, and it just makes me happy. Obviously, I also read Volume 4. A lot of stuff happening, very action-packed, but in this one, we do have some explanations. We go into some story, some backstory, some future story. But we understand like what is happening a little bit more and like why, the motivations of the villains and stuff. So it really like adds to what we already read, so it makes you understand a little bit better what already happened. And last but not least, started reading this, which is called The Rules of Civility by Amor Towles. They're the writer of A Gentleman in Moscow. I have not read that, but it was all over the place, and I thought this looked good. It looks like a beautiful book, and I thought it would be an interesting read. I don't know. I'm only on page 64, but if I tell you the truth, like, it was a trudge to get to 64. I'm not a super fan of this. Like, I just don't feel compelled by the story. Like, nothing's happening, and I just feel like I don't really care. And because this is a library book, I think I'm going to return it and DNF it, and then maybe another time I can check it out again and try it again. But now let's talk about some shows and some TV and some stuff. I'm still watching Cardcaptor Sakura. I know I'm taking my sweet time with that, but I just don't want it to end, okay? We're also watching Pokemon Indigo League because why not? And that's been fun because Ash is an idiot. Watching it from an adult's point of view, you're kind of like, what are you doing? But it's really fun and like enjoyable to watch, so I'm enjoying that. I'm also watching Jane the Virgin again. I stopped watching for a little while because it's so like outrageously dramatic and like far-fetched. It just keeps me really concentrated on the TV. It helps me not think about what I'm going through. So a lot of days when I'm having a lot of pain, or if I'm struggling somehow, and I had a few bad days last week, I just found that watching Jane the Virgin was a really good way to focus on something else. It really helped me think about something else. And I'm invested, I'm laughing, I'm crying, I'm just like all in. That show is really, really good. I'm also watching the new episodes that are coming out of The Good Place. That show is so good as well. And so I think it's going to be the last season. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling it's going to be the last season. So it's season 5 now, and we're having like weekly episodes basically, and I'm thoroughly enjoying those. I've also watched the whole like series of Prank Encounters on Netflix. That's a new prank show by one of the kids who was on Stranger Things. I'm not usually a fan of prank shows, but this one is just so intense. Like, they really scare those people, and it's really funny. I've also been watching another show, but nobody is going to be watching it because it's in Portuguese, like in Portuguese national television, which is like Married at First Sight or something like that. So basically, two people, the first time they ever meet is on their wedding day, and then they go on a honeymoon, and then they have to stay together for like an amount of time, and then basically there's weekly shows where they have to decide whether they are staying or they're going, and then at the very end of the series, what happens is they have to decide if they're going to stay married or if they're going to get a divorce. 100% trash TV, but I love it, and I'm watching it with my mom and my sister, and we call each other and we talk about it, and it's just a really fun time discussing it and discussing all of the crazy stuff that goes down and stuff. So I've been enjoying that. And last thing that I want to mention is I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu Edition on the Nintendo Switch. I love that game. I really, really enjoy it. That's why I'm watching Pokemon Indie League again. That is everything that I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you have fun finding out about...
Oh my god, my legs hurt.
Finding out about what I read this month and watched and stuff. Another thing that I want to mention quickly is that if you have any ideas for Christmas videos or for any kind of Christmas content that you want from me, please let me know, because I am starting to plan my Christmas stuff videos and I really want to know what you want to watch. So please let me know so that I can do that for you. Okay, that is everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave it a like and a comment, and consider subscribing to my channel if you have not done that already. It would mean so much to me. That is everything that I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.